Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. I'll be real with you. Going underground already screws with my head, but standing at the edge of that freight shaft in the Mojave, looking straight into a black hole in the earth, I felt something different, like the ground wasn't just waiting for us. It was watching. Cold air drifted up the shaft, damp and wrong, brushing the back of my neck like a warning. Dalton nudged me with his elbow. Last chance to turn around, man. We could have taken that Montana gig. Snow, trees, zero bottomless pits. Mercer didn't react. Montana has things worse than pits. We stepped into the rattling lift and dropped fast. Dust drifted through our lights, swirling like it wasn't falling, like it was being pulled up from below. The walls changed from concrete to carved stone, back to concrete, then to rough rock again. Whatever built this place, it wasn't built all at once. By the time the gate opened, the air felt colder than any desert night should allow. The tunnel stretched ahead, pipes on one side, old support beams on the other. It smelled like oil, dirt, and something faintly metallic. We'd walked maybe 20 steps when we spotted the boots. Just boots, standing upright in the middle of the tunnel as if someone had been wearing them and got sucked right out of them. Dalton's voice cracked. Nope, nope, I hate this already. Mercer crouched. The inside of the left boot was soaked in fresh blood, dragged toward the old mining levels. So yeah, down. The deeper we moved, the colder it got. Not normal cold, cave cold, the kind that crawls under your clothes. Then we heard it, the tapping soft, steady, echoing somewhere ahead. Dalton whispered, "Please tell me that's water." It wasn't. The tapping shifted into a pattern, fast, slow, repeating, like code. Mercer raised a hand and we froze. Another tap sounded above us. I swept my light upward, catching dust drifting from a beam. Just dust, but it felt wrong, like something had moved and disturbed it. We turned a corner and found the first body, folded into an electrical panel like a crumpled sheet of paper. His spine bent backward, helmet crushed around the jaw, tools and blood scattered across the floor. Drag marks led into a narrow crawl space too tight for any of us. Dalton gagged into his sleeve. Ugh, what the fuck? Mercer didn't answer. He was staring upward. I followed his gaze. At first I saw nothing, just shadows between beams. Then the shadows shifted, and I caught the faintest reflection of two black eyes pulling back out of view long limbs, too many joints. Dalton whispered, "Ah, shit." We backed into a wider corridor. The chittering started then, quiet, clicking, echoing through the stone. It wasn't close, but it wasn't far either. It sounded like it was coming from every direction. "Move," Mercer said. We pushed forward, light sweeping the ceiling as much as the ground. The tapping returned, bouncing along the metal walls. My pulse hammered. I could feel something tracking us, following us from above. Then the ceiling scraped. Dust drifted down, I looked up and met two black reflective eyes staring right back at me. The creature dropped before I could yell, a pale blur, mandibles wide, four limbs extended like hooks. Dalton screamed, and I fired. The creature hit the ground so hard the concrete shook. Dalton staggered back, tripping over his own boots as the thing skittered toward him, jerking in quick, insect-like bursts. I didn't think. I just raised my rifle and kept firing until the muzzle flash lit up half the corridor. The rounds hit, but not clean. The creature twisted at impossible angles, moving almost flat to the ground, then springing sideways like gravity didn't apply to it. One shot finally clipped its shoulder, dark fluid splattering across the wall, and it let out a shriek sharp enough to rattle in my teeth. Then it darted backward into the dark, folding itself up into a crack in the ceiling and vanishing completely. Dalton slumped against the wall, breathing like he'd sprinted a mile. Dude, what even was that? What bone arrangement lets something move like that? Mercer didn't answer. He was scanning the ceiling, tracking something I couldn't hear or see. His eyes narrowed. That wasn't the only one. As if on cue, tapping started again deeper in the tunnel. Louder now, faster. Dozens of tiny impacts echoing toward us from every direction at once. My skin crawled. Dalton straightened, voice thin. They're surrounding us, aren't they? They're positioning, Mercer said. They're not animals. This is coordinated. I didn't like how certain he sounded. We moved quickly, following the old mining rails deeper into the mountain. Pipes rattled overhead. Dust trickled down in steady little streams. The tapping grew louder, sometimes ahead of us, sometimes above, sometimes off to the left, like something was matching our speed just out of sight. We found more signs of the survey team. The first was a helmet split clean down the middle, not cracked, cut perfectly. Inside was smeared with blood and a single piece of torn scalp, where hair still clung to metal. The second sign was a person. He wasn't dead, not yet. He was wedged between a rusted cart and a wall, curled on his side, breathing in shallow gasps. His clothes were shredded, and deep claw marks cut through his ribs. One leg was bent at an angle no leg should bend. He stared at us through wide, glassy eyes, mouthing something soundless. I knelt beside him. Hey, we've got you. Stay with. Mercer's hand landed hard on my shoulder. Luke, move. I didn't get it until I saw the man's chest. Something moved under his skin. Not just shifted, crawled. Dalton's voice cracked. Oh, hell no. The man spasmed violently, eyes rolling back as a choked, wet clicking sound gurgled out of him. Clicking that wasn't coming from his mouth. Then his chest opened, not by tearing, by splitting along fresh seams, like something inside was pushing outward. I grabbed Dalton by the vest and yanked him back as the man's ribcage cracked and a pale limb shot upward, slick with blood. Then another limb, mandibles, black eyes, a juvenile ant creature, smaller, faster, pulled itself out of the cavity like a nightmare birth, shrieking at the sudden light. Mercer fired point blank. The thing convulsed and collapsed half out of the body, twitching. Dalton gagged, Dude, they use people as... No. Nope. Not saying it. Not thinking it. Mercer didn't soften it. Hosts. My stomach turned. We didn't have time to regroup because the tapping suddenly shifted into a full-on staccato assault, echoing from behind us. I spun around, rifle raised, eyes, dozens of them, blinking in the dark. One creature crawled silently down a beam, limbs shifting like a spider folding inward. Another slipped along the wall sideways. Two more clung upside down, mandibles clicking in agitation. Back, Mercer said. Get the fuck back. Now. We retreated fast, firing in controlled bursts. Rounds sparked off pipes and concrete, some finding flesh with sickening thuds. The creatures recoiled from the flashes but kept pressing, swallowing distance in erratic bursts of movement. Dalton tripped over a track rail, falling onto his hands. One of the ant-men lunged from the ceiling, claws outstretched. I didn't have time to aim. I grabbed Dalton's vest, dragged him sideways, and smashed the butt of my rifle into the creature's jaw as it passed. It shrieked, tumbling across the floor. More poured in behind it. We ran. The tunnel bent sharply right, and our lights flashed across something enormous. A wide, reinforced doorway blown open sometime in the last 50 years. Beyond it lay older tunnels, rough stone, sections carved by hand, others carved by something else entirely. Mercer didn't hesitate. Through there, move. We sprinted into the darkness. Something slammed against the wall behind us, heavy enough to crack concrete. The tapping stopped. Silence swallowed everything. Dalton leaned forward, breathing in fast, panicked gasps. Where are we? Mercer swept his light in a slow arc. Old support beams sagged overhead. Strange resin patches clung to the walls like hardened glue. We're in the lower levels, he said. The old tunnels, I asked. No, Mercer said quietly. Older. A soft chittering echoed from deeper inside. Not frenzied, not close. A calm one, measured, almost calling. Dalton whispered, "They want us deeper." Mercer didn't deny it. He just tightened the grip on his rifle and said, "Then let's find out why." The deeper we went, the less the tunnels felt man-made. The concrete gave way to rough stone. The walls curved inward, and the air grew colder with every step. My light hit strange patches of hardened resin coating the walls, thick layers smeared across rock, like something had been sealing up cracks from the inside. Dalton brushed one with the barrel of his rifle and jerked back like it shocked him. "Dude, it's warm," he whispered. Mercer didn't even pause. "They're close." I felt that before he said it. The tunnel air had a pressure to it, like being underwater. Every sound felt smothered. My breath sounded too loud in my own ears. Dalton kept glancing over his shoulder, making tiny panicked noises when his beam caught nothing but empty dark. Then the chittering came back. Not the chaotic tapping from before. Something slower, rhythmic, commanding. Dalton winced. This is talking, right? They're talking. Signaling, Mercer said. They're telling the nest we're here. We followed the tunnel as it sloped downward, and then it opened into a cavern big enough to swallow a warehouse. Our lights hit the far wall and vanished into shadows that never ended. Resin-coated pillars held the ceiling like twisted rib bones. The air smelled sweet and rotten, like syrup poured over a dead thing. Dalton's voice shook. That's a lot of eggs. They hung from the ceiling like swollen sacks, pulsing slightly, glowing faintly from within. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Some were fresh, some looked ready to burst. Cocooned bodies were plastered to the walls. Miners from 50 years ago, survey techs from last week, all wrapped in hardened secretion like grotesque wasps' nests. Mercer leaned forward, staring hard. This isn't a hive. It's a breeding chamber. I swept my light across the floor. Movement. Small, fast. Juveniles, 20, maybe 30, scuttled in and out of cracks, chittering at us. They kept their distance, but their mandibles clicked rapidly, echoing through the chamber like little knives hitting stone. Dalton swallowed hard. So, plan? Mercer steadied himself against a pillar. He'd lost more blood than he wanted to admit. We collapse it, kill the brood, force the colony to scatter. Awesome, Dalton muttered. Great, perfect plan. Just one tiny detail. How exactly? Mercer tapped the side of his pack. Thermite, 4 charges. I felt a flicker of hope until Mercer spoke again. We'll have to place them around the queen. Dalton stiffened. Queen? You saw a queen? No, Mercer said, but there's always a queen. We moved deeper. The cavern narrowed around a massive mound of resin, shaped like a termite hill, fused with bone. Ribs, human ribs, protruded from it like ornamentation helmets. Old mining picks, shredded clothing. Whatever these things killed, they used. And embedded halfway into the mound was something huge. She was larger than any of them. Long, pale limbs stretching out of a swollen abdomen, fused into the nest. Her mandibles were thicker, sharper. Her eyes were bigger too, but unfocused. Blind maybe, but still tracking motion through heat or vibration. Dalton whispered, I hate everything about this. Juveniles clustered at her base, chittering eagerly, waiting for her signals. The chamber walls crawled with movement overhead, adult ant-men clinging upside down, dozens of them watching. Mercer pressed a charge into my hand. Luke, place this near her core. Dalton, right side. I'll handle the rear. We moved slow. Every step echoed like a hammer in the dark. The juveniles skittered back but stayed close enough to bite if we slipped. Dalton crawled under a resin beam, teeth clenched so hard I heard them grind. I stayed low, placing my charge near a pulsing section of the mound. Then the queen moved. Just a twitch, barely anything, but her mandibles spread half open, releasing a deep, low rumbling chitter that vibrated through the stone. All the adults above us stopped moving. Dalton whispered, Guys, guys. Mercer hissed, place the charge and step back. I clicked the magnetized base into place, and one adult dropped, straight from the ceiling, landing between me and Mercer with a screech that punched through my skull. Its limbs shot outward, claws carving sparks off the rock. I fired instinctively, 5 rounds into its chest, but it didn't go down. It lunged at me again, mandibles snapping inches from my face. Dalton yelled something behind me. 2 more creatures dropped from the ceiling, and then the entire nest erupted into motion. The sound was overwhelming, chittering, screeching, the slap of claws against stone as the swarm descended. I shoved my rifle up under the first creature's jaw and fired until its head cracked backward, its body spasmed and collapsed. Twitching, Dalton screamed as one tackled him near the pillar. Mercer staggered under another, firing one-handed while blood soaked through his shirt. I ran toward Dalton, grabbing the creature's leg and wrenching it sideways. It shrieked and clawed at me, carving a long, burning slice down my arm. I shoved my boot into its abdomen, fired twice, then pulled Dalton up before another one pounced. "We need to go," Dalton shouted. "Now." Mercer limped toward us, clutching the detonator. "Charges are set. Back to the tunnel." Dozens of ant-men crawled after us, sprinting across walls, vaulting over each other. The juveniles poured from their crevices, scuttling across the floor in a wave. The queen let out another vibrating command, and the adults surged forward like a single organism. We ran full speed. We reached the tunnel entrance as the first creature leapt for us. I ducked, Dalton swung his rifle like a bat, and the thing slammed into the wall, cracking stone. Mercer hit the detonator. The blast felt like the world inhaled and then screamed. Fire tore through the cavern behind us. Liquid fire, clinging fire, thermite fire. The queen shrieked, a wet, tearing sound that rattled every bone in my body. Resin burst into molten glue. Eggs exploded in a chain reaction. Adult ant-men scrambled over each other trying to escape, their bodies igniting as they hit the heat. We climbed, fast. The air pushing up the tunnel was like a furnace exhaling. Heat seared my back. Dalton slipped twice, shouting behind me. Mercer groaned through clenched teeth but kept moving. The tunnel shook. Dust fell. Stone cracked. And beneath it all, the queen screamed again, this time fading, then nothing. Silence. We staggered out of the emergency exit shaft and collapsed onto the desert gravel beneath a starlit sky. Cool air washed over us like a blessing. Flames flickered far below, smoke drifting from the shaft, like the mountain itself was exhaling its last breath. Dalton lay on his back, gasping, "Man, I am never going underground again." Mercer wiped blood from his jaw. "You will." A black government SUV rolled up minutes later, headlights cutting through the dust. A handler stepped out, papers in hand. He glanced at the smoking shaft, then at us. "Good work, but we've got another situation developing." Mercer didn't even look surprised. "Where?" "Upper Michigan," the agent said. "Ranger station found something shredded. Tracks too large for wolves, too upright." Dalton groaned. "Nope. Hard pass." But Mercer looked at me. "You ready for the next one?" I stared into the night, thinking of the eyes staring down from that ceiling. "Yeah," I said. "Let's go see what's howling in the trees."